Hi everyone, my name is James Nord. I'm one of the founders of Fohr Card, which is a directory of fashion blogs, and we help brands find more bloggers to work with. So I am going to try and leave you guys with a couple things today. First, I'll try and tell you why we started the company and why I'm up here at all. Then a bit about why I think blogs working with brands is important and something that's going to become increasingly important. And then, how we can all do a little bit better job at that, both as the brand side and the blogger side of working together. So first, why I'm standing here. So I actually just got a notification the other day. 6 years and 2 days ago, I started Tumblr. It was just my birthday, 6-year birthday on that. Thank you. So mostly it was like I just didn't really want to talk to my parents that much, so I figured if I could start a blog and tell them what I was doing, then I wouldn't have to speak to them every night, which was pretty effective. Surprisingly enough, more people started following it. And as more people started following it, I figured I should probably get a new camera and take better pictures of this coffee I'm drinking and cocktails or whatever the hell I was putting on there, mindless stuff I was putting on the blog. And over the years, more and more people followed it. And I was taking a bit more of a shine to the camera and shooting more. And so I felt like it was time for me to be a fashion photographer, that it was owed to me. I had 15,000 Tumblr followers, and that must mean I am a fashion photographer. I'd never taken a fashion image in my life, mind you, but I decided that was what I was going to do. And I didn't know a single person in fashion. I didn't know a single person that worked in PR. So the only thing I could do was just email companies. So I'd email Prada and be like, hey, Prada, here's my blog that 10,000 people follow, which, you should definitely work with me. And none of them did. And so I emailed, Prada and then Gucci and Saint Laurent, and everyone just silence, nothing. So I figured I had to change my strategy. I emailed my now co-founder, who at the time was at Tumblr, and asked to have lunch with him. He was the fashion director at Tumblr. He was putting together all these fashion weeks where they would get 20 bloggers to go to Fashion Week and cover it. And I thought that was really interesting. Had lunch with him and said, look, if any jobs fall off the back of the truck, throw them my way. I'd love to do it. So he connected me a week later with Oscar de la Renta, who needed someone to shoot their fashion night out party. So I did that, and then I shot the show, and then I became a house photographer for Oscar de la Renta, and then I shot for GQ and W and New York Times. I got to go all around the world and shoot for these amazing brands, and Thom Browne and Marchesa. And about 8 months into this, my life totally changing, I called him up and said, we have to do this for more people. You changed my life with one email. I went from not being a fashion photographer to being a house photographer for Oscar de la Renta in a month because of one email. And so there has to be a lot more talented people than me out there who really just don't have the connections and don't know how to get in touch with brands. And we have to try and help those people change their lives and leave jobs that they may not love so that they can work in fashion and do the things that they really want to do. So that's really why we started Fohr Card. And to this day, that's really what we try and focus on, is getting opportunities for bloggers to change their lives and do something that they really want to do. So that's why I'm here. Why I think it's an interesting time for bloggers is, if you look at the ways that brands can market their products and services online, you've got search marketing, display advertising, and social advertising, all three of which are dog shit. Excuse my French. Since they launched digital marketing products 20 years ago, I think 1993 was the first banner ad, click-throughs on that have fallen basically to zero. People between the ages of 20 and 40 don't click on ads. Who's clicked on a banner ad in the last month? Anyone? No? Exactly. So that's a problem. As a marketer, if no one in this room has clicked on an advertisement in a month, then that's a serious problem. And the way that they're solving it is trying to now work with people that understand how to create content in this space, and that's bloggers. And they call it sponsored posts is native advertising. It's basically advertorials online, right? So I'm sure you hear a bunch of assholes who talk about buzzwords and that native advertising. It's just sponsored posts. So native advertising market is going to go from $1 billion to $3 billion in the next 3 years. So there's going to be a lot more money for bloggers out there. And it's a really interesting time because the products that they have available to them in search, display, and social they're really ineffective. And so they're going to be coming more and more to bloggers. And so it's important for the bloggers to understand that and understand how to market themselves to brands and work effectively with them. And which brings me to the third point of how can we all do this a little bit better. So we always kind of say a few things. The first really interesting thing I learned when I started Fohr Card 9 months ago, I've probably met with, I don't know, 200 brands here in New York, let's say, right? And every time I meet with someone, social media manager, or VP of PR, whatever that is, I ask how many bloggers a week are pitching you ideas? Figuring that number is probably pretty high, right? I mean, sitting in offices from Chanel or Club Monaco or J. Crew, whatever it is, how many bloggers a week are pitching you? Almost every time the answer is 0. They don't get a single thought-out pitch ever from a blogger. And if a blogger does email them, they say, hey, this is my blog, I'd really like to work with you. Well, that doesn't help brands because they've got 100 things to deal with. And if you're just saying, I'd love to work together, then they're just going to say, I would not love to work together, and delete your email because you've given them no reference on what you want to do. So if you come to them and say, hey, here's an idea I have, here's exactly how I see it playing out, here's how much I expect you to pay me, here's who's going to be involved, here's what I think you could expect as far as reach and engagement on these posts because historically this is how I've done when I've worked with other brands, then it's really easy for them to say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'll throw $5,000 of that, or I'll throw you some product so you can review it, whatever it might be. But as a blogger, which I think is kind of where most of us in the room are coming from, right? Not brand people, but mostly bloggers. As a blogger, you need to have a clear idea of what you want to do with the brand before you come to them, because you only get one chance to introduce yourself, and just saying, hey, I'd love to work together is a pretty piss poor way to introduce yourself. So that's number one. You have to pitch more and pitch better. I think the other interesting thing for bloggers is that I always say, like, you have to stop creating content and start telling stories, because if you're just standing on your stoop taking pictures of yourself in clothes every day, that's not really working for brands. They have no way for them to be able to fit into your space. If you're just like, oh, this is what I do every day, I take a picture of my outfit, that's not enough. It might kind of be enough now, but in 2 years it's definitely not going to be enough. And so you have to work on telling bigger stories. Find other bloggers and do big projects with them. Do collaborations. Find a photographer and a stylist and reach out to brands and then say, hey, here's this 4 or 5 people that are going to work on this thing together, and we're going to try and do something really interesting. You know, like our friends over at Street Etiquette. You guys know that menswear blog? Street Etiquette, about 4 years ago, they got like 15 guys together and they did this project called Black Ivy. So they went up, I think, to Colombia, and they had all these black guys, and they put on, you know, like traditional prep gear, and they did an editorial, and it was like really kind of changed the way people looked at fashion in that certain niche. And they did it because they were able to get, you know, 15 guys together and really do something interesting and say, you know, not here's my personal style post, but here's where I think things are going, and I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna sit around waiting for GQ to shoot this look or this editorial. I'm gonna shoot it. I'm not gonna wait for Vogue to do this idea. I'm gonna do it. So whatever it is, find the partners you need to find. Everyone's pretty scrappy out there, and try and do something interesting, but you definitely want to do more than just, you know, I hear people say like, oh, I got to get content out, content, but content's boring. You got to tell stories. Make sure they're big stories and interesting, and brands will come and they'll want to work with you. That's what we tell our brands as well. Try and be more interesting. Try and do something more than just send a blogger you know, a blouse and say, you know, send me the link when you post a personal style shot of this. So those are kind of my small pieces of advice, and in the interest of not running over in time, I'll take some questions.
I'm actually a brand.
Okay.
I would like to listen to that side of the story as well.
Yeah, I mean, for brands, you know, the way our business works is subscription. So we have 3,500 bloggers right now. They produce 4.9 trillion impressions a month across platforms. And so brands subscribe to the platform to be able to see that data. I think as far as brands working together, it's the same thing. Don't have an idea about what you want to do. Don't just, wait for bloggers to come to you and want to work with you. But, you know, when you reach out to someone, just try and do something different. I mean, don't just send them some clothes and say, like, style this thing. Tell a story. Tell us something interesting. You know, Fohr Card, like, we don't have a blog. or an Instagram or anything, because I haven't figured out what we want to say there, and so there's no point in just filling it with like pictures of my co-founder's dog, as adorable as the dog is. You can just follow his Instagram if you want to see pictures of the dog. So, you know, until you have an idea of the kind of voice you want to have and the story you want to tell, then it's okay not to tell one. But, you know, when you do go out and do it, make sure it's really good.
It's more of a statement, but I come from a PR background, so I get all the blogger emails, and I so agree with you about the pitch. It's all about the pitch.
See?
I mean, I can almost go through my inbox like tomorrow morning and guarantee you there's 100 emails of bloggers, beauty bloggers, because I work with beauty brands, and a lot of them don't stand out. Out of the 100, probably 2 stand out.
Right.
And it's something that then I want to go to your blog, and when I go to your blog, if you didn't take time on your website, then, and it looks crappy, I don't want to work with you.
Totally.
It's just what it is.
And the nice, you know, another nice thing is, you know, we all don't have to have the traffic that Leandra at the Man Repeller has to be able to work with brands. And, you know, more and more brands don't want to work with bloggers that have worked with a lot of other brands. So, especially in luxury. But in beauty, I see it as well. I mean, if you're working even within the Estee Lauder family, and you worked with Tom Ford, you know, you're not going to then go work with Aveda, because they get very territorial over the people that they work with, and those decisions matter. So when you do enter, you know, a partnership with the brand, know that cancels out 20 other things that you can probably do. But the nice thing is that brands are getting their own social presence, so they don't really need, you know, let me step back. 5 years ago, brands started blogs and they came into digital. They needed bloggers to help give them scale, right? So they had to work with people that had big traffic so that they could say, hey, this brand has just launched their blog, you should check it out. I did this collaboration with them, go to their blog to see the collaboration. So they did that. But now the brands have enough reach that they don't need bloggers to help them get more reach. What they start to need is they need imagery for their own social channels. So your numbers don't matter as much as the work that you produce, which is really encouraging, because you don't need 1 million page views a month to be able to work with these brands. You just need to have a unique point of view. Anyone else? We all gonna go to the club out here after? All right, thank you. You? Okay.
Is Fohr Card just for fashion and beauty, or can I also find for like my agency, we're trying to find people who are into fashion but also into like a healthy lifestyle, but it's so hard.
Yeah, so we have, like, we know right now we're fashion, beauty, and lifestyle, but you know, we have, like, one of our clients is Puma. So Puma obviously needs people that are more fit. And so we know the bloggers on our platform that, you know, are into eco stuff or into fitness, or they're runners or they're cyclists, whatever it might be. We know those people. So, you know, we're not going after mommy bloggers or tech bloggers or food or shelter or any of that. We're staying in fashion, beauty, and lifestyle. But we know, like, which bloggers on our platform have babies, so that if somebody did want, you know, Oscar de la Renta they're a client, they have a children's line. So if they want to, you know, talk to bloggers with kids, we know those people.
So we can just email you and ask for like references?
So yeah, the way it works, the directory is like it's $12,000 a year, and then you're able to filter all of that. But then if you were saying, I need someone as a fitness blogger, then we could say, like, okay, here's the 40, 50 people on our platform that are fit and into fitness. So yeah. So then we'd give suggestions. Anything else? That's it? Going once? Going twice? Thank y'all. Appreciate it.